Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is Mukesh Sharma and today we are going to continue Aristotle and are going to look at his critical responses to Plato. Um, First of all, we are going to study what he has to say about the philosophical nature of poetry. He says that poetry is more philosophical than history. Okay, now he says that in history, there is a mere recording of facts as they happened, whereas in poetry, the statements made by a poet are of universal nature. Okay, and history, on the other hand, records those facts which are singular or which are related to one particular incident. Okay, one more thing which is very important is that poetry describes not only the things that are happened or that have happened, okay, but it also tells what should happen or what could happen or what might happen. Okay, in this way, according to Aristotle, history is merely a kind of mirror, but art, on the other hand, is not a mirror. It is necessarily conceptual or cognitive. Means it provides us with knowledge of things not only as they are but also as they should be in the ideal condition. Now, most of the part of the poetics is dedicated to the describing of tragedy. So we are going to have a look at the views of Aristotle on tragedy. Now, he first of all compares tragedy to other forms such as comedy or epic. Okay, and he says that tragedy is a kind of imitation, that is mimesis, and the purpose of a tragedy is very serious, and it puts emphasis on action rather than narrative. Okay, to achieve the purpose of a tragedy or its purpose. Now he says poetic imitation is the imitation of things as they could be and not as they are, as we have already seen it. Okay, in this way, by telling us what could happen or what should happen or what might happen, poetry becomes more philosophical and exalted medium than history, which merely records what has actually happened. तो इस तरह से हम देखते हैं कि अरिस्टोटल के अनुसार पोइट्री जो है वो ज़्यादा एग्जाल्टेड है हिस्ट्री की तुलना में, क्योंकि हिस्ट्री से तो सिर्फ फैक्ट्स को रिकॉर्ड करती है जैसे वो हैपन हुए हैं, जबकि पोइट्री हमें ये बताती है कि फैक्ट्स जो हैपन हुए हैं वो तो है ही, उसके अलावा हमें ये भी बताती है कि कैसे होना चाहिए उनको, या कैसे वो हो सकते थे, ओके, या कैसा होना चाहिए उनको। ओके, नाउ इसके बाद अरिस्टोटल बोलता है कि ट्रेजेडी का जो मेन एम है वो क्या है, टू ब्रिंग आउट और ब्रिंग अबाउट अ कैथारसिस, ओके, which is to arouse in them sensations of pity and fear. We have discussed about it a little bit, and later on tragedy purifies these two emotions of pity and fear, है ना, so that when a spectator leaves the theater he feels cleansed and uplifted, है ना, and with a heightened understanding of the ways of gods and man. Now, how this catharsis happens according to Aristotle. Now he says that when we witness some disastrous or dangerous changes in the fortunes of the drama's protagonist or hero, hero would not be the most appropriate word for protagonist. Protagonist is a central character. He might be a hero, he might be a villain as well. Okay. Now Aristotle later on recognizes that this change might not be disastrous. Okay, but most of the tragedies, especially great tragedies, show this change to be a disastrous one. Here we take an example of Oedipus at Colonus. Okay, it was considered to be a tragedy by Greeks, but it does not have, or it did not have, an unhappy ending. So what does this slide tell us? It tells us that catharsis is the prime object of a tragedy, and it is achieved by purifying the emotions of pity which are aroused in us after having a look at the misfortunes of the protagonist. Okay. Now Aristotle tells us the 6 main elements of a tragedy. and you must remember all these elements as well, because they are asked in the NTA net exam many a times. So what are these 6 elements? Plot, character, diction, thought, spectacle. Spectacle means the effect of scenes, and song. Song means music. And out of these 6, the first 2 are of primary importance, that is plot and character. And you must know this, that most of the poetics is devoted to the analysis of the scope and proper use of these elements. Okay, and he selects many examples from tragic dramas, especially those of Sophocles, and he has also selected examples from Aeschylus and Euripides, and some playwrights whose books or works are no longer here for us to read. Now some of the points which are made by Aristotle are very important for understanding the Greek tragic drama. Okay, and out of those remarks made by Aristotle, the most important is his value assigned to the plot of a tragedy. तो अपन लोग ये कह सकते हैं कि अरिस्टोटल जो है उसने 6 एलिमेंट्स बताए हैं एक ट्रेजेडी के, जो कि हमने पढ़े थे अभी यहाँ पे, प्लॉट, कैरेक्टर, डिक्शन, थॉट, स्पेक्टेकल एंड सॉन्ग. बट इन 6 में से प्लॉट और कैरेक्टर को ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट मानता है. और फर्दर ही सेज दैट ट्रेजेडी इज एन इमिटेशन नॉट ऑफ मैन, रिमेंबर दिस, आई हैव आल्सो हाइलाइटेड दिस पार्ट, बट of action and life, of happiness and misery. So he puts emphasis not on man, not on characters, but on action they perform. Okay, so action is more important than the characters. So according to Aristotle, life itself consists of action. Okay, so if there is no activity in our life is not life. Okay, now character determines a man's qualities, but it is their action that makes them happy or wretched. So whenever we read great tragedies, we'll come to know that it is some action taken by the protagonist that makes their life miserable, in tragedy specifically. So by nature they are not bad people or bad persons. We can take examples of Macbeth, Othello, King Lear, Hamlet. They are not basically bad people, but the action taken by them lead to their misery and ultimately their death. Okay, so the purpose of action in a tragedy is representation of the character according to Aristotle. Now a character has a role to play in a tragedy, but you can say kind of it complements the actions. Okay, so actions are primary and character is secondary. So incidents and the plot are the end of the tragedy, और इस एंड को सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट मानते हुए ये अरिस्टोटल कहता है कि एक ड्रामाटिस्ट जो है, एक ट्रेजेडी राइटर जो है, उसको इसी पे फोकस करना चाहिए. And one more important line is there for you, that he says there can be a tragedy without character, but there cannot be a tragedy without action. याद रखना, एक्शन के बिना ट्रेजेडी नहीं हो सकती, कैरेक्टर के बिना ट्रेजेडी हो सकती है. ओके, सो प्लॉट इज द फर्स्ट प्रिंसिपल ऑफ and soul of tragedy. Character holds the second place according to Aristotle. He then tells us about the plot of a tragedy. He says that plot must be a complete whole with a definite beginning, middle and end. So you must also remember this concept of beginning, middle and end. You can add the word proper in place of definite here. It should have a proper beginning, middle and end, and these should be in such an order that we cannot remove anything from these out of these 3. Okay, after reading the beginning, we come to know the beginning of the incidents, how things are going to behave. We are going to have an idea of the things after reading the beginning, and middle, where most of the action happens, which takes to the downfall of the central character, and in the end we come to know what happens to the central character. So these things are very necessary. So proper beginning, middle and end should be there in a plot. Now one more thing which is not written here, I would like to explain it to you a little, that plot and story are two different things. Okay, story is the overall structure of the overall incidents that happen in a story, but plot is the arrangement of those incidents in such a way that they have a beginning, middle and end. So plot is the arrangement, proper arrangement of those incidents. He says that there should be a single central theme, okay, where all the elements should be logically related to each other, okay, and the incidents that happen, they lead or decide or determine the fortune of the central character, and whatever happens with the law of causation and probability, okay, in the events, means ऐसा हुआ है तो उसका संभवतः परिणाम ये होगा. अब जैसे हम मकबत को पढ़ रहे होते हैं तो हम जब हमें पता लगता है कि मकबत एंड लेडी मकबत हैव डिसाइडेड टू किल डंकन, तो हमें उस चीज से ये आइडिया हो जाता है कि अब क्या होने वाला है आगे, बिकॉज वी नो दैट if Macbeth is doing something horrible, the results are also going to be horrible. Now, as far as the role of a tragic hero is concerned, Aristotle says very less about him, because he believes that it is not in the hands of tragic hero to lead to his destiny. It actually depends on fate and other things, or heavenly things, or the things done by God. Now, overall we can say that Aristotle just repeats the things that have been done by Greek tragedy writers, means they have placed such an emphasis on the portrayal of actions that they sometimes do not pay proper attention to the development of the character. Such is the case with the Plato's theory of tragedy. Now, whatever Aristotle has said about the tragic hero, we are going to read it here. He says that the hero or the central character should be such a man, should be having such qualities that the spectators can identify with him or consider him as a normal human being. Although he is always powerful, he is generally from the noble family, but still he seems to be related to normal human beings, or if he is not looks like, or if he does not look like a normal human being, the people or the spectators are not going to be able to relate to him, and his downfall would not arouse the emotions of pity and fear in the spectators. Okay. One more thing, he should not be utterly or completely virtuous man, because if something bad happens with a virtuous man, the only emotion that will be aroused in us will be of fear and not of pity. Okay. So in addition to describing the nature of a tragic hero, he also describes the concept of hamartia, where generally we translate it as a tragic flaw. However, an overemphasis is paid to this definition or this translation of tragic flaw. Now, if we pay overemphasis, or if we overemphasize this tragic flow, sometimes we can lead to false interpretations. ऐसा क्यों होता है? Because अगर हम सिर्फ वो tragic flow को ढूंढते रहेंगे, और अगर एक tragic writer भी सिर्फ tragic flow के तलाश में रहेगा, तो tragedy जो है वो थोड़ी सी unbelievable लगने लगेगी. So it is true that there is an error of judgment in the central character, and he takes a decision which leads to his downfall. Okay. Now, as I already told you, it is true that the superhero, the hero frequently takes a step that initiates the event of tragedy, and owing to his own ignorance or poor judgment, acts in such a way as to bring about his own downfall. Okay. So hamartia is what? Hamartia is an error of judgment which is translated as a fatal or tragic flaw which leads to his downfall, the downfall of the central character. And it is the hamartia which delimits the protagonist's imperfection and keeps him on the human plane. Means hamartia के कारण हम उस प्रोटैगनिस्ट को बहुत बुरा मानने से बचते हैं। हम ये मानते हैं कि बेचारे से गलती हुई है डिसीजन लेने में, इसीलिए वो हमें ह्यूमन बीइंग लगता है, ना कि एक डेविल लगता है ना। क्योंकि एक डेविल के साथ कुछ बुरा होगा तो हमें पिटी विटी कुछ भी नहीं आएगी, हमें लगेगा कि अच्छा हुआ। सो एक ऐसे आदमी के साथ जो डेविल नहीं है, जो डेविलिश नहीं है, लेकिन जिसने एक डिसीजन लेने में गलती की है, उसके साथ अगर कुछ गलत होता है तो वी सिंपली हैव द इमोशंस ऑफ पिटी एंड फियर। Now, the remainder of the poetics is given to the examination of other elements of tragedy and to the discussion of various techniques, devices, and stylistic principles. Aristotle mentions two features of the plot, both of which are related to the concept of hamartia. And these two features are very crucial for the understanding of a tragedy or for the making of the tragedy. And these two features are, one is peripecia, which is called reversal. And when does it happen? It happens when something opposite to what was planned or hoped by the protagonist happens. Protagonist ने कुछ प्लान किया था और होता कुछ और है। ओके, जैसे कि इडिपस जो है, इडिपस एक्स में हम देखें, इडिपस जो है वो अपने फादर का जो मर्डर है उसको इन्वेस्टिगेट करता है और उसके सामने बहुत ही अनएक्सपेक्टेड कंक्लूजन आते हैं। उसे पता लगता है कि वो मर्डर एक्चुअली उसी ने ही किया था, और ये बात जो पहचान में आती है, इट इज कॉल्ड रिकॉग्निशन और एनाग्नोसिस। Okay, so remember these two things. Peripecia is reversal of what was thought or planned by the protagonist, and anagnorisis is a recognition of what bad was done by the protagonist. Now, in Oedipus, he comes to realize that he himself has killed his father and married his mother. So, this anagnorisis leads to the ultimate downfall of the central character, and you might fall this anagnorisis and peripecia and hamartia in most of the great tragedies. Okay, so like take the example of Othello. In Othello as well, the central character, that is Othello, kills his wife and later comes to know, that is anagnorisis, that his wife was not false, or his wife was not or does not deceive him or did not deceive him. So this is anagnorisis and he feels very guilty and kills himself. So remember these three things: hamartia, peripecia and anagnorisis. These views come when we discuss the tragic character or the protagonist of the tragedy. So as we have seen, Aristotle has dedicated most of his poetics to the discussion of tragedy, and he also considers tragedy to be superior from comedy. Okay, although when he compares tragedy and epic, he says that the grandeur is more in an epic, but tragedy is near to life. So this was all in Aristotle, and there will be a few more things that I am going to tell you through Telegram or WhatsApp. That will be all in this video. Thank you very much.